In a world where travel is changing,
The new passport isn't stamped.
it's served.
On a plate.
For Germany, beer gardens, bratwurst, bread traditions. For India, spice trails, street food, royal cuisines.
Two nations, distinct identities, one untapped gold mine.
Food is more than fuel. It's diplomacy, it's economy, it's destination appeal on a plate.
Germany invests in experience.
India invests in hospitality. Together, they create journeys that are immersive, flavorful, unforgettable. Food tourism isn't just about what you eat. It's about what you remember and where it takes you next.
The playoff begins.
So for this session, I would like to invite Chef Kunal Kapoor. We all already know him. Alexander Heinrich, winemaker at Weingut Alexander Heinrich, and also Thomas Dial, also a winemaker, here on stage to join my colleague Krishna conducting this Aratai, because this is about something very important, Krishna. You would agree with me, right?
I think everybody here would agree over here. This is very, very important. This, in my mind, is the most important session for the day, not just because I am doing it, but because it's so close to the hearts of everybody over here. So let's get all the panelists on stage.
Mr. Heinrich, Mr. Alexander Heinrich, if you can hear me, sir, please.
Mr. Alexander Heinrich, please take the stage. And
also Thomas Dial.
please take the stage.
Mr. Dial, if you are here with us, thank you. Thank you so much. Krishna, the session is all yours.
Okay. Thank you all of you for being with us. I like the fact that there's so much, in that what we just saw. There's samosas to schnitzels, parathas to pretzels, and, masala to malt. That's what we're going to be talking about. There is this great, beer and wine making tradition in Germany, and India is a kaleidoscope of culinary traditions, so many of them. So we're going to discuss both of which. Let me begin with India and then come to Germany as well. Chef Kunal Kapoor, talk to us. We don't showcase the sheer range of India's culinary traditions globally, isn't it? And it's time, because there's more and more reception for more and more different kinds of Indian food, not just butter chicken. 20 years ago, Indian food equals chicken tikka and butter chicken, and that's about it. But today, you have so many. I just saw South Indian restaurants in Munich and as well. So talk to us in your own experience of showcasing Indian cuisine globally. What are you witnessing at the stage, and what do you think needs to be done?
All right. First of all, there is a perception about Indian food being spicy, overtly spicy. Yes, we use a lot of spices, but not every Indian dish is spicy. We are also sometimes typecasted as a cuisine which is overtly greasy or oily, which is truly not the case. And at the same time, whether we like it or not, butter chicken has somehow become the dish that kind of represents Indian food, which is not fair at all. Let me break it down for you. Okay. First of all, Indian food is very complex. Very, very complex. Why I say that? A simple soup could have possibly 15, 20 spices. And there is a reason why it goes. And not every spice has to be hot. There is a reason why certain spices are used in certain regions or certain time of the year. One, we are blessed with land that produces such different varieties of spice, and every season, whatever the produce of the spice, we use it. Then second, at home, when we eat Indian food, it's not spicy. We have kids at home, we have people with individual preferences who may like very hot food or less hot food. So it's sometimes the restaurant that kind of pump up the food, and over a period of time, it's become the perception that Indian food is hot. Then coming on to butter chicken, that's become iconic, very, very, very iconic, and it's possibly as recent as about 70 years old dish. It's not even an Indian classic. It is a dish which was born out of necessity about 70 years back, and Indian food is thousands and thousands of years old, which has been well documented, a very, very well documented cuisine. I think one is, we all talk about French food, the other is definitely Indian. Now, thing is that we have about 28 states, and every state has a very different cuisine altogether. And within each state, there are these communities, there are these beliefs, sometimes the religion that kind of tells you what to eat and what not to eat, and when to eat, how to eat. Yeah. So it's very difficult to kind of put together Indian food in one box and say, hey, this is Indian food. I've spent last 26 years working as a chef in this industry. I cannot confidently say I know each and every Indian cuisine. Because calling Indian cuisine is like calling Europe a country. Because you have more than 28 states having different food, one from the other, very different. And if you look at the geography of India, it's up north Himalayas. There's a certain kind of food that grows. Down south is coastal, very tropical, very different. You go far east, completely different kind of food. Then you go to far west, there is Rajasthan desert. Over there, the food is, what grows is very scarce. And so every state, every bit has its own contribution. Yeah. So, but moving on, if I now look at Indian restaurants and Indian chefs, there is a whole new love for Indian food. 15, 20 years back when I was in the restaurant, an average European walking into my restaurant would say, oh, tone down the spice. No chili, please. No chili, please. No chili, please. Now I get people saying, hey, don't change anything. Give me what the real deal is. If it's spicy, I'll eat it. So, that's the kind of acceptance that is coming through.
Absolutely. That's actually what I witnessed in my travels to Germany as well. They're like, don't dial down the spice. We are ready for it. At least that's what Germans are saying. Mr. Heinrich, I'm going to come to you. But Thomas, I see you nodding along. Are you somebody who likes eating a lot of Indian food? Are you somebody who wants to go to India to try the real Indian food?
Yes, definitely, because I've been there several times and enjoying especially the street food culture. Just walking around, just collecting the different food types and trying everything. And yes, I'm really this explorative guy who likes to try new things, explore new cultures, and also try to bring back this the spirit from different countries to the German culture. So yes, but to be honest, when it comes to hot, I'm also a little bit of turn it down a little bit, but I'm always interested to test out my borders in this relation.
Okay, we're talking about food. I just want to shift the conversation to wine. Mr. Alexander Heinrich, for so many people around the world, Indians and everybody else, Germany equals beer, beer equals Germany. And then even people who understand wine, little bit, the only thing they know about German wine is Riesling. It begins with Riesling and it ends with Riesling. Now there's a wine renaissance in Germany. Stuttgart is making fantastic wines. It's giving tough competition to the Italian wines and the French wines. Can you talk to us about the wine renaissance and how wines are being made in Stuttgart and how you think it can it can be a good point to attract tourism into Germany?
So, thank you. And namaste. Good evening.
Namaste, namaste.
So, I'm a winemaker, so I have the best job in the world. Yes, also he has the best job in the world. And you the second best job, yeah. And for me, when it's possible to give you a wine who give you a very smooth thing in the mouth and a lot of firework, yes, when you pair it with spice and something else, yes. So I often visit India, I think 15 times or something else. And
wow.
if you have a very cold wine like this one, and you get goosebumps when you eat a sour curry and maybe coconut or something else and drink a wine, it's fantastic. Yeah, and that's my job. And when I make you happy, I'm also happy.
Wow. Chef Kunal, I want to come to you on that. This pairing of Indian food and, German wine or for that matter, European wine is crucial, isn't it? It's a great way to bridge cultures. And and there's greater awareness of how you can pair Indian dishes with European wines.
You know, my thought process with pairing wines with Indian food has changed over the years. When, you know, was predominantly a very beer and a whiskey market, and then when wines were introduced, we were trained in the hotels that I worked, where chefs were called and they were trained. Our palates were trained to understand wine. And initially, it was difficult to grasp the woody taste, or the let's say the raspberries, or the smells of the forest, to the chocolate, to the cocoa. So it was difficult. But over a period of time, one understood. But when you applied that science to European food back in India, it made sense. But when you applied that similar kind of thought process with Indian food, it would never make sense to me. So for a very long time, I would convince people that, hey, this food, this Indian curry with this wine, this one with this one with this one with this. But because the style of Indian food, if you see a thali, which has about 8 to 10 dishes served to you simultaneously, with each one of them having a very distinct flavor, pairing a wine doesn't make sense. And usually people would go for a bottle of wine. So I have changed in the last couple of years, where my approach to my customer is, what kind of wine do you prefer? You know, do you like a sweet wine? Do you like a fruity wine? Do you like a light wine? Do you like... And some people who are pretty new to the wine culture, one kind of takes them through a little bit of tasting. Which one do you think you'll appreciate, your palate appreciates? And then say, sip your wine that you like, eat your Indian food. Because, like I said in the beginning, Indian food is super complex. It takes a lot of ingredients to make a simple dish. It takes a lot of years to practice and get your Indian food right. You know, so because anybody can cook food, anybody can learn from recipes, but Indian food, good luck. It's complex, and it has a science. It has that there is that science and art behind the madness why it is so complex, which is very interesting story, by the way.
Making a good dal is so complicated, isn't it? It looks simple.
Talk about khichdi. You can make it with salt and cumin, but talk about khichdi again. You can have as many spices. Depending on which region you're from, you can add meats to it, you can add spices to it, you can add condiments to it, and it'll keep changing. So the variations are endless.
Variations are endless. And Thomas, in that sense, you know, you've done your travels, you've done your experimentation. You know, what worked for you, and how do you think this will work? You know, Chef Kunal is saying the fact that it's very difficult to find the right kind of pairing, because wine and cheese is one thing. That's a long tradition in Europe, and it changes from Germany to France to everywhere. Wine and chutney is complicated. Isn't it?
Definitely. Some of you are already trying some of our wines right now, and that's something I would use as an example, because it's all about trying, and it's all about liking or disliking, and that's the best way to find out, as you already mentioned, do a tasting. And what you also asked before, 2 questions ago, the renaissance of wine in the region, and also the renaissance of like traditional wine grape varieties. We are now able to interact with companies and wine companies from different countries, for example, to compete, not to compete.
Yes, you are competing against
Italian
we are
competing,
wines and French wines, aren't you?
I'm always like about to work together, but sometimes you're also competing. So, for example, when you have a nice Pinot Gris, which we are becoming more and more famous for, especially in the Stuttgart region, our winery is very famous for the Pinot Gris, and you are tasting it maybe right now. And it's an all-rounder. So before I came here, I also checked which wine goes along with which food best, and then I chose butter chicken as an example, and what would match with butter chicken accordingly to ChatGPT is the Pinot Gris. So that's the way I went down and chose the wine. And what I would like to express is that we are now living in a world with like globalized citizens traveling all around the world. Me, myself, I love traveling, exploring new cultures, and also sharing some parts of my culture. And as Alexander already mentioned, we're having the best job. We are producing an emotional product and we can also share it with emotions, and I think that's the way we can also bring it to India.
Yeah, and when it comes to sharing that emotion for wine, all these visits to vineyards and making people aware of how a particular wine is made, and the story behind it is so important, and it's a great way to display, to showcase culture to people, isn't it, Mr. Alexander Heinrich? For example, somebody who's come to Stuttgart will immediately think about, Mercedes-Benz, will think about Porsche, all that. But, for them to understand the nature over here, because it's a beautiful city with, rolling hills and vineyards around it, vineyards within city limits here in Stuttgart. So wine becomes a great gateway point for cultural understanding and tourism, isn't it?
So for us, it's very important to have wine streets and something else. Yes, you can visit. There are a lot of Besenwirtschaften. Yeah, little restaurants where you can go to the winemaker and talk with them, and you met friends and you get new friends. Yes, so it's very important for us. And if you see our beautiful landscape with the step slopes and all the thing, if you be there, you can feel it, and you see the hardworking winemakers in the vineyard and grape picking and all the things, and you tell it your friends. So if you are really wine knower,
wine knower, I like that.
Wine knower. You know about German wine and you know about our region. And for me, one of the most important thing is that in Württemberg we have a great variety of different kinds of grapes, and we have these really good pairing with the Indian food, because our wine is not so alcoholic, not so full of tannins. If you stay in Kerala or in Mumbai and it's 30 degrees and you have to drink a glass of wine, you swallow a brick. Yeah, it's very hard to drink. Yes, when you have a lot of tannins and 50 degrees alcohol or percent alcohol or something else. We have a full flowered wine with maybe 11 or 12% alcohol. So it's a perfect pairing in a land where one thing is India for me is the paradise of veg food. Yes, so it's very interesting what you can do with all that different spices and vegetables, and it's great. I love it.
I'm loving this. A German winemaker talking about the great Indian vegetarian food, Chef Kunal. Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? And it's been this thing, right? From butter chicken to India being famous for its vegetarian food, because the vegan, for all the vegans across the world, Indian cuisine becomes a great place to go to, isn't it?
Absolutely. That's the beauty about Indian food. There is non-vegetarian or meats, dairy, seafood, and very high consumption. And on the same side, those very people who consume meat observe a lot of days where they stay away from meat. And that's where the vegetarian cuisine comes in. And we are blessed land in terms of the produce that we have from north, south, east, west. The kind of veggies, the kind of fruits, the kind of spices, the kind of grains that we grow, it's just immense. And taking from him, from a previous question, I believe making wine is also a work of art. And sometimes it's like a painting, you see the painting and you just don't, the first time I saw Mona Lisa, I was like, okay, what do I do with it? Okay. So somebody had to take me through, why is it revered so much? Why is it so important?
Tell the story behind it.
There's a story behind. There is a certain work. There is a certain period era when this was crafted using the colors or the brushes or the thought process. Why is it so revolting? Why was it such a... Today it looks like, okay, just another lady in a portrait. But there is a whole lot of history to it. There's a whole lot of things that had gone through. Similarly, till the time you don't show the artwork of wine, the pain one takes to make sure, right from the soil, the climate, because ultimately it's the grapes. You really can't control the weather with the kind of weather changes that we have. So the kind of things that the guardrails or the farmer takes in at the vineyard, right from putting that first wine to harvesting it, to cutting it, taking it at a certain temperature, making sure that it is fermented in a certain way, it is kept a certain way, and it's a labor of love. So like any other art. So that's why sometimes a bottle of wine could just be a bottle of wine, but till the time you don't take people through the entire journey, whether it's to the vineyard or talking about the flavors or talking about what has gone, what goes in, how much of hard work it goes into bottle of simple wine that we drink, you just don't appreciate art much then.
I love what you said, Thomas, isn't it? Wine is a work of art. Every wine is a work of art.
And I like it more when I've had a couple of glasses. I appreciate the art more.
We all do, Kunal. We all
The more
do.
you consume, the more you appreciate.
Yeah, true. And in that sense, all I can make comparison is this. A lot of Indian food is intoxicating, isn't it? It's just like wine. You have more and more of it and you can't stop, isn't it? And he's being kind to winemakers, calling wine a work of art. Culinary art is called culinary art for a reason, isn't it, Thomas?
Yes, I can only agree with that. But also, like Alexander mentioned, we have also wine with not so much alcohol. And also, our winery is now launching a wine brand with zero alcohol because besides producing vegan wine already, we also produce now alcohol-free wine. And to make, to reach all possible customers all around the world. And because there are people don't drink alcohol for any reason. And so we also want to include them because that's besides having a great product, we also want to include the people by selling this product. And the best thing is when you're in a conversation, you always want to have something in your hand. And we want to make it possible that you don't get asked, did you want to have a wine or water? We can only want the question, do you want wine with or without alcohol? And then there is no exclusion of anyone because all people in the room have a glass of wine and everybody's included. And that's also kind of making art. And that's our idea of traditional and modern wine culture, and also just scaling the economy for winemaking, because besides all of the artwork, you also need to sell stuff to create new stuff.
Right.
And yes, that's
art needs to meet business. All said and done. Culinary art to the art of winemaking. I think we can continue talking about this for the next hour or so. That's how interesting this is, but I'm afraid we're completely out of time over here. I'm going to ask everybody to give the gentleman on stage a huge round of applause. Chef Kunal Kapoor, Ms. Alexander Heinrich, and Thomas Dale. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for being with us.
And gentlemen, please stay with me here on stage as I invite Mr. Vikram, CEO South TV9 Network, and Ruben here on stage for a shawl felicitation. All right, Sanjeev is here.